15 tallest actors in the world. Number 15. Ben Affleck, 6'3". Ben Affleck met his best friend Matt Damon in Cambridge when they were 10. The two took acting classes together, eventually moving to Hollywood and co-writing the screenplay Good Will Hunting in 1992. Affleck took small parts in movies through the 90s until finally Miramax agreed to fund his movie, which went on to win the Oscar for Best Original Screenplay. This skyrocketed Affleck into the limelight, who would continue rising until the critically panned Geely, which he made with his then-fiancée Jennifer Lopez. Affleck's career took a swoon until he re-emerged as a major player with his films Gone Girl and Argo, the latter of which won him an Oscar for Best Picture. Recently had been taking his height to thrillers starring in Batman vs. Superman and The Accountant. Number 14. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, 6'4". Before he was The Rock, Dwayne Johnson won a national championship playing football for the Miami Hurricanes. He was drafted into the Canadian Football League, but cut only 2 months into the season. Unsure of what to do, he was soon recruited by WWE. By 2000, he had taken over the scene and won his first Royal Rumble. The Rock set a record by making $5.5 million for his leading role in The Scorpion King, the most an actor has ever made in his major motion picture debut. Since this debut, The Rock has taken over Hollywood, becoming the industry's highest earner of 2017. The Rock is best known for his role in the Fast and Furious franchise. Number 13. Liam Neeson, 6'4". Liam Neeson was born in Northern Ireland. He began acting in the 1970s and had fully integrated himself into the Hollywood system by the end of the 80s. His first massive role was the lead in Steven Spielberg's Schindler's List, a performance which earned him an Academy Award nomination. Audiences were ecstatic when the high-caliber actor was cast as the wise Jedi, Qui-Gon Jinn, in Star Wars The Phantom Menace. In 2008, his career hit a new gear when he played an ex-CIA operative searching for his daughter in Taken. The movie was a huge success and has launched him into several other acting films that serve the gentleman's imposing tall frame, including The Grey and The Commuter. Number 12. Jeff Goldblum, 6'5". Jeff Goldblum first got his start as a gang thug in the controversial 1974 Charles Bronson film Death Wish. He had big parts here and there, including the roles in Annie Hall and Invasion of the Body Snatchers. In 1981, he was nominated for a Genie Award, Canadian Film Award for Best Performance by a Foreign Actor for his portrayal of Aldo Gehring in 1981's Threshold. 5 years later, he won a Saturn Award under David Cronenberg's direction in the 1986 movie The Fly. And guess what? In 1989, he starred in a movie entitled The Tall Guy. But it was his role as the charming scientist in Spielberg's Jurassic Park that made audiences adore the 6'5", non-traditional actor. 3 years later, he hit jackpot again in Independence Day, causing him to become one of the 1990s highest-grossing actors, and a pop culture mainstay up to this very day. Number 11. John Cleese, 6'5". In 1962, John Cleese was at Cambridge University performing in a footlights show called Cambridge Circus. There, he met Graham Chapman. Two would go on to create Monty Python's Flying Circus, arguably the most influential sketch comedy group of all time. Cleese, 6'5", used his height to his advantage, playing the high-status, authoritative characters who had an inking for hurling insults. After the success of the group, Cleese went on to create and star in Fawlty Towers, one of Britain's all-time best sitcoms. Cleese is still working today on films, television, video games, and even Broadway, and has appeared in over 200 projects throughout his lifetime. Number 10. Joe Manganiello, 6'5". Joe Manganiello claims in high school he was skinny with Coke bottle glasses and invisible to the girls. Yeah, right, well, the past is the past. At 6'5" and 236 pounds of pure muscle, Joe has become the ultimate Hollywood hunk. After graduating from the prestigious Carnegie Mellon Acting School, Manganiello took on guest roles here and there throughout the years, most notably Peter Parker's Bully Flash Thompson in Spider-Man 2 and 3. Joe says his height hurt his ability to get roles, since most leading men are such shorter than him. Unless he is a bodyguard or bouncer, casting directors don't want him to dwarf the masculinity of their star. But it was in 2010, when he started appearing in True Blood, that audiences couldn't help but notice him. Manganiello cemented his superstar status when he starred as a stripper opposite Channing Tatum in both Magic Mike films. Oh, and in 2014, he married Sofia Vergara. Sigh. Number 9. Tyler Perry, 6'5". Tyler Perry saved up $12,000 in order to write, direct, produce, and star in his first musical, I Know I've Changed, based on a series of letters he wrote to himself about his abusive father. The project reportedly lasted 1 weekend and only drew 30 patrons. Ouch. Most people would have given up at this point, but Perry wasn't ready to give up. He reported to living out of his car in order to save money for his projects. Can you imagine at 6'5" living inside of a car? But soon, audiences turned towards Perry, and his stage success led to the production of his first movie, Diary of a Mad Black Woman. Although it was panned by critics, the film went on to make $50 million. With the money he made from the sequels, Perry became a major media mogul, and now owns his own media company and acting school. It just shows that you should never give up on your dream, no matter how cramped your car gets. Number 8. Vince Vaughn, 6'5". Although he played football and baseball in high school, Vince Vaughn always describes himself as an average athlete, so it was an easy choice to pursue acting. He was first cast in a Chevrolet commercial, promoting his exodus to Hollywood in 1988. He got his first film role as a minor actor in the 1993 feel-good sports movie, Rudy. It was there that he met Jon Favreau, who he would go on to write and star opposite him in his breakout movie Swingers 3 years later. Vaughn upped his profile 2 years later, starring in Steven Spielberg's The Lost World, Jurassic Park. Vaughn appeared in several acclaimed films following this, but it wasn't until his comedic turn in 2003's Old School that he became a household name. He went to cement his standing a year later in the classic comedy Dodgeball, a true underdog story. During this time, Vaughn is labeled one of the Frat Pack, a group of Hollywood celebrities who frequented comedies. Vaughn briefly dated Jennifer Aniston before marrying a Canadian realtor. Vaughn recently returned to athletics, getting his blue belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Number 7. James Cromwell, 6'6". James Cromwell, the son of 2 actors, made his screen debut in a guest role for The Rockford Files. A few weeks later, he landed his first recurring role as Stretch Cunningham on All in the Family. For the next 10 years, he played modest roles on television and screen alike. Then in 1985, he had a breakout performance in Babe. For this, he received an Academy Award nomination, making him the tallest actor to ever receive the honor. He's been nominated for a total of 4 Emmys, winning Best Supporting Actor for his role in American Horror Story Asylum. Cromwell is still working at 78 and has over 200 credits on his filmography. Number 6. Christopher Lee, 6'6". Christopher Lee was a premier English actor whose career spanned 70 years, and whose height spanned 6'6". He had trouble finding roles because of his height, which was mostly worked around by having him sit for scenes or propping other actors on apple boxes. Lee's breakthrough role was perhaps The Curse of Frankenstein. His long gait added to the terror of the character and reinvigorated the monster into popular culture. Lee moved from Britain to Hollywood in 1977. Concerned he was being typecast for his height, Christopher Lee had an incredible last act of his career. He starred as the high-status, dignified villains Saruman and Count Dooku in the Lord of the Rings and Star Wars prequels, respectively. All said and done, before his passing in 2015, Lee worked in over 250 projects and was even knighted. Number 5. Kevin Durand, 6'6". No, not Durant, Kevin Durand. Canadian by birth, is the original tall KD. Kevin got his start as a hockey player in 1999, comedy drama Mystery, Alaska, directed by Jay Roach. In 2004, he joined the Tall Title Club when he played Booth in Walking Tall. A couple years later, he would gain major mainstream exposure by reoccurring as Martin Keamy on the cult phenomenon Lost. Despite the powerhouse ensemble cast, it was easy to focus on Kevin as his hulking built frame towered over everyone, making him an imposing antagonist. Since then, he has never stopped working, appearing in films and television alike such as X-Men Origins, Wolverine, Robin Hood, The Strain, and Vikings. Number 4. Brad Garrett, 6'8". Brad Garrett began his career during the stand-up boom of the 1980s. He didn't lean on his height for material, but it undoubtedly helped him get noticed by agents. He started his television career in minor roles and guest spots until landing his big break to play opposite Ray Romano in the sitcom Everybody Loves Raymond. Brad would go on to win 3 Primetime Emmy Awards out of a total 6 nominations. In between acting gigs, he has started a side career as a professional poker player. Number 3. Shaq, 7'1". When he was first drafted into the NBA, coaches had no idea what to do with him. For Hollywood agents, it was the exact opposite. Shaq started his acting career opposite his Orlando Magic teammate, Penny Hardaway, in the 1994 film Blue Chips. 2 years later, he starred as a 5,000-year-old genie in the musical fantasy comedy Kazam. 2 years later, he became one of the first African Americans to portray a major comic book hero in the role of Steel. Shaq has gone on to appear as himself in various sitcoms, films, and music videos. You can see him now as a studio analyst for the TNT and BA show. Number 2. Richard Kiel, 7'2". Richard Kiel, a charming, sweet man at heart, could never avoid being typecast as monsters in films. In his debut film, he played Iga, the caveman who kidnapped the innocent Roxy. Fast forward 15 years, and he's sick of the monster roles. So when his agent tried to get him to play a henchman, Jaws, in the latest James Bond film, he almost turned it down. Then he figured, hey, it's James Bond, I have to do it. Kiel says that he put human touches on the character, so that he wasn't all bite. This humanization is perhaps why Jaws is considered one of the best Bond characters of all time, and why he is considered one of the greatest tall actors of all time as well. Kiel, who has always had a sense of humor, got to show it off in Adam Sandler's Happy Gilmore. Since then, he has taken a quieter profile, but not so quiet he couldn't record as Vlad, the soft-hearted thug in the critically acclaimed Disney animated film, Tangled. Number 1. Peter Mayhew, 7'3". You probably wouldn't recognize Peter on the street, but he gets on the list for playing one of the most iconic players of all time, Chewbacca. Mayhew was first discovered by the producers of Sinbad and The Eye of the Tiger when they saw him in the newspaper article about people with big feet. They contacted the big man and cast him as Minotaur in 1977. The same year, George Lucas was casting Star Wars. He had bodybuilder Dave Prowse in mind to play Chewbacca, but he ended up playing Darth Vader instead. Lucas went on a search that led him to Peter, who was working as an orderly at the time. The rest is history. Peter went on to play the tough, lovable, hulking furball in 5 of the Star Wars movies. That's pretty incredible. Hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.